Right, hi guys, Andy work back again. Finished the buttstock. Because of my bad design it's in 3 pieces, so what happens is this piece gets jammed in there between that gap, so I'll put that in. In fact, you can put it in afterwards like so. So that's like that. That bit goes on there and you'll notice the end of this piston slots in, holds it in place. 4 screws, bang, 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 and then this goes on, 2 screws either side. So that's my buttstock done. So my next job was first to get this trigger working, and it turned out to just be the top of the trigger catching on that. So I ground that down and ground that down, and that works fine. Next job, of course, is to get the actuating rod working. But before that, I'm going to do the forward pistol holder. Now, I was going to go to the trouble of designing a 3D piece to put in there, but I don't think it'll be strong enough. So that's going to go here somewhere. And what I'm thinking of doing is getting a piece of steel and bending it along there. Then it can come up here somewhere, God knows where. I probably have to cut that off the tree because it doesn't seem to be providing any use. Maybe even the steel come right up here and go flat against that and put a screw through there to hold in place. And then with this bit of steel having holes in it all the way through, get some epoxy putty and jam it in there both sides, ram it together, clean it off, get it in position, hold it for the, clamp it for the 20 minutes it needs to set, and then I've got a nice strong forward piece for my pistol grip, which I'm going to have to work out a way of stopping it going too far back. So it'll sit there, something like that. I have to allow clearance for this barrel, and that pin goes into that little hole there. So I can get it up there. So as long as I use the bottom of this white plastic as my guide, I should be fine. Now, if I jam epoxy putty in there and both sides and clamp it together and get it to hold shape, that's great, except it'll stick to the plastic and I'll never get it apart and I'll have to scrap the whole thing. So I've got to work out a way for it not to stick onto this plastic while the epoxy putty is setting. And I'm thinking putting some food wrap in there, or maybe coating the plastic with olive oil like I've done before, then putting some food wrap down, then jamming the epoxy putty in and screwing it in with the screws around it to hold it in place until it sets. Hopefully that will work. What I'll do, I'll drill out a lot of these little wall bits and pieces in here. I'll leave this screw hole, even though it doesn't have a corresponding hole. I could very easily put a screw through that and hold it, because it's got nothing like the front holding the front of the pistol grip together. So that's my plan for now. Oh, I found a, what do you call it? Vortexes, are they, or whatever? I don't know. Yeah, a scope, a square one. I like the look of it a lot better. So that's going to go up there. And it's actually, it looks high, but it's actually a very good eye relief when that goes on. Your head's right here. So yeah, it's quite comfortable for me. That, and I'm thinking about another piece of detail along here. Possibly, I don't know. Maybe I could 3D print something that slides onto that rail. That's an idea. So that's basically the design. Right, hi guys, back again. Okay, after some more of my heroic failures, finally got a piece of metal. Goes in there like that. And I'll work out how to attach it there later. First is putting it in here. I'm going to do, get a screw in here. Oh, get a screw ready to go in there. And I've got my putty. So, drill a series of holes on the top there. Going to wrap the putty around that. Make sure there's some going around this post. Down past this level, so when it dries it holds it in place. And make sure that is straight in that. And that's all I have to do at this stage. The putty I'm using is the steel epoxy stuff, multi-purpose. Let's see, how am I going to do this? Right, okay, I know. make it flat like that. Put that like that. And wrap it around, pushing it through so you can feel the two sides bonding together, hopefully, he says. Har har. And push it in there. And you can see most of the putty's been cut off. That's alright, I'll put some up around here. Okay, let's see about getting this on. What's the bit it doesn't go on? Oh, look at that. But anyway, so that's going to eventually go in there like that. The way I'm proposing to fix that in there is to put it in and embed it one side in, again, in this epoxy putty and clamp it. And then when that's dry, put some Glad wrap over it, or plastic food wrap, put putty in this side and clamp it down. So the putty will mould to the shape, but they'll still be two separate pieces because I've dried at different times. So I'll give that a shot. Right guys, welcome back. There's our piece. Now that's all set. I've done some work. I've actually managed to bend this out a bit further because it was sticking out the front here. So it's pretty amazing, this epoxy putty. So that goes in there. I've cut recesses for those two holes because what my plan is to wrap that in epoxy putty just like I did the first bit, sandwich it between here and just let it dry in a straight line, hopefully. Now because I don't want it to sticking to the plastic, I've got some cooking spray, some coconut oil because it's healthier. I'm just going to give the insides of there a little coat, or a lot of a coat. And I've also got some old, what we call in Australia, Glad wrap, food wrap. I'm going to put a little bit of that over each side before I put the putty in and jam it in, because I would like it to be this shape in here, wrapped around this, attached to this piece, so it's just another part I can pull out, but when it goes in it locks solid. I'm going to use this aluminium stuff, simply because that's all I've got. Working out how much I need, it's this area here, or that area there, and it's about that long. So all I'm going to do is use half of it, put it there, wrap it around. Now I've got to do this all at one go. So I want to get it straight along the body and horizontal. And so what I'm going to do quickly is chuck a couple of screws in to hold the body, keep the body from moving around. If you get a chance to get clamps like these, do. Even though they're cheap stuff, they're really, really useful. So that's straight along the body, and that's straight out from the body. What I'm doing is judging like that line against that line. In fact, it's a little bit low. And I'm judging the center line down the center line of that part. There we go. So, guys, I apologise for that buzzing. It's the light above my desk. The camera's right below it. So, it's a few hours later. This stuff's rock hard. So let's pull it apart. See if my brilliant plan worked. Well, look at that. One side lifted off. Now, why isn't the other side lifting off? Because it's gone over here. Okay, that's alright. Get rid of that. I've discovered that this stuff can be cut and shaped pretty easily. Oh, there we go. There we go. So, there is my lump of epoxy putty, aluminium epoxy putty, and it just slots in like so. So there's a little ridge down there down the centre which gets in between the trigger grip, so I'll just grind that off and should be good. It feels so solid. I'm not even going to put any screws in it. Wow, that's pretty good. That's as good as you can ask for with a Nerf gun. And if I put a screw through there, cramp that in, it'll be pretty good. Now I'm going to attempt to fit this here to cover this area up. Might as well use it, it's made for it. And it'll also save me having to make a battery door, because what I can do is just cut down the tray, glue it in one end, just have a long enough lead and have one screw in the side, either side, and I can just put it on, screw it in, it's in place when I want to take it out. Pretty simple, straightforward. Right, there we go. The final aesthetic, final look, whatever you want. I got this in remarkably easy. It does restrict your hand a bit, but not a lot, and I could compensate by just building this out with putty, which I might actually do. I have to do either side one at a time. And it's just held by a little screw at the front and this tab on the back that's always been there, so battery box sorted. I'm going to glue this on now. Nerf glue I'm made up by a mixture of cut off Nerf plastic, like so. Chuck it in a jar, add some acetone and let it melt. And now it has in it, this is the stuff on the top, you can probably see the orange lines, that's fresh. The rest of the stuff's been in there for months. What I've done, I don't know if you can see, I've drawn around where the base of this hits, so I know where it's going to hit, where it's going to contact I should say. And what I'm going to do is get a brush, paint some acetone on the outside of that line. I'm going to keep away from the center line because I don't want to accidentally glue it together, because this is just screwed together. So I'm going to glue each side to its own side, make sure it's nice and straight, and just glue it to the either edge. Then when it's dry, putty it in, and then I can pull the whole thing apart. Just paint a little bit where you're going to put the goo glue, as I call it. Try not to get any on this too, because you want to take those screws out as well. So paint a bit of the goo glue on the bottom of your piece as well. This just starts the plastic melting. It's quite strong when it's dry, but it's quite easy to work with as well. Even when it's dry, it's sort of really hard plasticine. Now because I've taken so long, I'm going to put some more acetone on here because this stuff's probably already evaporated. I'm going to chuck some goo glue on those bits too. The leftover acetone you can just chuck in the jar. Just going to put this in place and I'll let it dry for like, till tomorrow, 12 hours. That's pretty much it for now. I've got to admit it's looking pretty weird. Back in 12 hours.